Welcome to another edition of Radio Influencers, a podcast series we're doing for Radio Update. I'm your host, Andy Meadows. I am in Austin at the West End at the Domain for the Texas Broadcast News Awards. That was last night, and I emceed it. The folks at TAB put it on, and they were nice enough to ask me to come down and MC it, and it was a lot of fun. When you MC these things, as a lot of you know, sometimes they tend to go really long, but the folks at TAB, Oscar, Beth, Jennifer, and all the good folks that work there really have it down to a science. I mean, they kept it moving along, so it was a really fun event, and I was excited to see a lot of young broadcasters in there, both on the TV and the radio side. Some of them won some awards as well. But when you host these things, you know, you're trying to keep it moving. So I did slip in a couple jokes from time to time, and I think most of them landed because, you know, it was an open bar, so that makes it easy. But I did have a couple I didn't get to that I thought I would burn on here since they're topical. And some of these I didn't do because I wasn't just reading the room. I wasn't sure how they were gonna land, you know. So at the top, when I kind of mentioned how rough a week it was, elephant in the room, I figured I had to talk about that, but it didn't get much of a response, so I didn't go into this. But I was going to say, show of hands, who bought the dip this week? And then I was going to, as people reluctantly raise their hand, I was going to mimic writing and say, I just wanted to know who to turn in for insider trading. Joking, of course. I bought the dip as well. May need a fall guy. This one wasn't fleshed out. That's why I didn't do it. But Fire Festival 2 guy back in the news. I'm trying to get Oscar to book him for TAB. If he can sell some tickets to a second concert that never happened, there's got to be a few things he can teach us broadcasters about event marketing. Yeah, that one definitely better left off. The dire wolf, this one would have worked. I didn't even know that thing was real, by the way. I thought it was just a Game of Thrones animal, but apparently it was a real animal. But as you heard in the news, the dire wolf was brought back. The biotech company that says they're going to bring back says they're going to bring back a woolly mammoth next. I guess so the dire wolves have something to eat after they eat all of us. A little dark. Probably good. I didn't do that one. I was at NAB in Vegas this week for the convention, and so I could cash out my 401k and put it all on red. Just kidding. I work in radio. I don't have a 401k. Oh, by the way, this scratch, if you can see it. I didn't address it because I didn't think you could see it on stage, but that's from the 1.5-year-old not agreeing with my song selection. I was singing to the 3.5-year-old, Wheels on the Bus, and the 1.5-year-old wanted to hear Itsy Bitsy. And this is how she hits next on the old dad jukebox. She just scratches me. But this one would have worked. Luka returned to DFW this week to take on his former team and remind Mavs fans how much they still love him and how much they still want to fire Nico Harris. I thought about doing that after a DFW station won an award, but maybe too much salt in the wound. But anyway, probably good I left those off. We had a really good response to the Radio Update Weekly Wire poll on Wednesday. It was topical. What impact will the recent market volatility have on radio? The number one answer was moderate impact at 37.8%. Massive impact came in second, 31.4%. And little to no impact, still a good amount, 30%, 30 point something. I can't read my writing, but 30 something. Kind of wishful thinking probably on that. I hope they're right, but it seemed like this volatility could definitely have a reasonable impact on radio. On the weekend wire poll, we also had a pretty good response. That was, will you sell more digital or terrestrial advertising this year? And kind of pleasantly surprised to see this. 52%, 52.1% said they'll sell more digital advertising this year in radio, and 47.9% said terrestrial. So it feels like we're starting to move in the right direction, and there's a little less resistance to digital. So that's kind of what I want to expand on today, because on last week's episode, I talked about a session I saw at NAB, the state of the creator economy. And it was a great session at NAB in Vegas last week. Some wonderful panelists. In my NAB highlights article I did for Radio Update, I talked about some of my big takeaways on there. Something I may have mentioned briefly, but it really stood out to me when they talked about how creators of all sizes, from just small niche creators to the really big ones, are really getting into subscriber only content, exclusive for subscribers, is kind of what I wanted to talk about today. That struck me because it's something I'm seeing personally in a lot of the content I watch and look at online, and even some of the traditional news sites like CNN now. If you go on there, you'll notice it has a subscribe button, and that's not for like subscribe. If you're subscribed through cable or whatever to CNN, you still have to separately subscribe to the website to get exclusive content. So they're starting, and I just noticed this last week. Maybe they started it before and I hadn't seen it, but CNN starting to do some exclusive content on their website just for subscribers, and you're seeing this with a lot of content creators as well. They're doing it on across all kinds of platforms. And this is something that I think radio should do a little more of. And the thought process is, well, the conversion rates are so low. It's just 1% to 2%. But the point they made on the panel was, well, if you have 1.5 million Instagram followers, which is obviously a pretty good following, but if you have 1.5 million Instagram followers, if you can convert 1 or 2% of them that at $5 a month, that comes out to $75,000 a month, something like that. So a good chunk of change, and that's kind of the model I was thinking for radio that would work. Is if we, if you had a million cum in a big market, and you could have some exclusive content for paid subscribers, and you got 1% to 2%, then you're talking about some serious monthly revenue from that, and we're all having to get creative with how we get that revenue. So I think there's something to that. I wrote an article about it called Video Game Money, how radio can make video game money, and I kind of laid out the formula in there if you want to check that out. But of course, with all of this, it comes down to content, and you have to have the amount of content for it. Otherwise, obviously, nobody's going to subscribe. But it's not as steep a hill to climb as a lot of radio folks think. And when I first start talking to them, it's like, man, I don't know how we get from where we're at to having the amount of content we would need to get anybody to pay even $1 or $2 a month. But it's not as hard as you think if you start with capturing all the on-air content you're already creating on video by adding cameras in the studio, which is way more affordable now than it used to be. I was sad I didn't see some of the vendors at NAB that sell the cameras in our price range for radio. The $100 to $500 cameras. I didn't see as many of them there, but Ozbot is one. Mevo is one. I like their stuff. I'm on an Ozbot camera right now, and I got Mevos here with me that I usually travel with. So yeah, putting cameras in the studio. So we're capturing all the on-air content on videos, a good place to start. Extending some of our short-form content to long-form, that's something that came up in that same panel, is how a lot of these content creators, digital content creators, they start as short-form creators on social media, and they're kind of tapped out in how much revenue they can make from that. So they're all looking to go long-form and do podcast, audio-video podcast on YouTube and create YouTube content by going long form. And that's the same struggle that a lot of us radio folks have. If you're not in talk radio, especially if you do middays, afternoons, nights, and you've never done mornings, you're used to talking 15, 30 seconds on the air, and now you're being asked to do a podcast that, in everybody's mind, they think a podcast needs to be an hour or 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be that long. It should be as long as the content warrants. But still, you're going 10, 15, 20 minutes as opposed to talking for 30 seconds. So that's the challenge, but we can all get there. It's just a matter of getting the reps in. So I think that's another the way that radio can get the amount of content we need to do this exclusive for subscribers angle. And the other big one is missed opportunities to capture content. I talk about this a lot because I see so many stations doing great events. Not as many stations as I'd like. I feel like we've all gotten away from events a little more than we should have, because it's what makes radio tangible to go out in the community. But when we're out in the community, when we're doing station events, when we're doing remotes, anything, that's a great opportunity to capture content, to capture listener or user generated content while we're on site, if we take advantage of that. But also within our building, I can't think of how many times over the years we had a big name artist in studio, and they left, and we're like, did anybody get a picture? Did anybody get video? And it's just, it has to be top of mind for us, and to make sure that we do that. So inside the building, every chance we get, capture content, not just the on-air stuff, but anything that's happening within the building that's web or social worthy or on-air worthy. Outside of our building at events like we talked about, and as you live your life, I'm here at the News Broadcasters Association Awards here in Texas, and talked to a lot of journalists last night. And one of the things that journalists are a little ahead of the rest of us on is it's top of mind all day, every day, that is this an opportunity to capture content? It's just always in the back of their mind. And I see more and more on-air talent, radio on-air talent, thinking this way and doing this. Like when you're out and something happens, the slice of life content happens right in front of you, and I am going to talk about this on air. I see more of them, snapping a quick picture so they have something to go to the web with as a header image, or, snapping a quick video to use on social media, or so when they talk about it on air, it's already loaded up and ready. But that's another big part. If we just, it becomes top of mind to you, then it's less overwhelming. When you start talking about all this stuff, it's just like, man, I've got so many things on my plate already. How could I possibly create all this content you're wanting us to create, Andy? And that's how you make it just a part of your day as you live your life. It doesn't have to become where it takes over your life and you don't actually live in the moment ever. I think there's a way to a healthy balance for it. But the more it's just top of mind and we're thinking about doing it, the more content we'll all be able to individually create. And then, of course, the outside partnerships with influencers in your market. There are influencers no matter what your market size is, because it takes a lot less in small and medium markets to be an influencer. But partnering with some of those folks who are already creating content on their own that nobody's asking for, at least in the beginning, and so why not partner with some of those folks to supplement the content that we can all create in-house. And of course, working with companies like mine that can help you. We can create content for you, obviously, but my favorite thing is the teach a man to fish approach, and really show folks how to create content and use some of the AI tools, some of the affordable video tools and content creation tools that are available now. So anyway, had a lot of fun here, and if I hadn't mentioned it already, this West End at the Domain is an incredible hotel for these kind of things. The staff is all super friendly, nice bartenders, and it feeds into some great shopping for before events and afterwards, bars and restaurants for all the after parties and to get some of that late night food. So I definitely recommend this. And it's not the parking's, it's easy to get into and out of. So I enjoyed my stay here. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Radio Influencers. Radio Influencers is a radio update production. New episodes are released on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.